Hi guys, welcome to day 1 of calculating confidence intervals. We're doing it with proportions today. This is an activity we would have normally done together, but since I'm not here, you're going to follow along and we will use this scenario to help us. It says when you toss a Hershey's Kiss, it sometimes lands flat and sometimes lands on its side. So flat versus on its side, okay, over there. Flat versus side. What proportion of tosses will land flat on the bottom? Each group of 4 selects a random sample of 50 Hershey's Kisses to bring back to your desks. Toss the 50 kisses and then calculate the proportion that land flat. Let p hat equal the true proportion of the kisses that land flat. What is your point estimate? We're going to say that your group got 21 out of 50 kisses landing flat for a p hat proportion of 0.42. Let's talk about this. What is the population? The population is all Hershey Kiss tosses, and the sample is those 50 tosses that you did. The parameter is p because it's a proportion, and this is the true proportion of all tosses that land flat. And your statistic is that p hat value, which is 0.42. Below it says, was the sample random? And we're going to say yes, it was. And why is this important? This is your condition number 1 that you need to check when calculating a confidence interval, which will sum up in the end. But it is the sample random? It's important because if the sample is random, then we can generalize to the population. And that's what we're going to try to do here. We're going to try to calculate a confidence interval that we can use to represent that population proportion that we're trying to find. What is the formula for calculating the standard deviation of the sampling distribution of p hat? This is something you should know and you should remember from last unit. Sigma sub p hat is equal to p times 1 minus p over n. What condition must be used or met to use this formula? Okay, this is our condition number 2 that we need in order to use a confidence interval. And that is the 10% condition, okay? N is less than 10% of the population, okay? And so we need to make sure that condition is met before we can generalize to the population or even use that. And in this case, 50 is probably less than 10% of all possible tosses. Sometimes this is something that we assume, remember, okay? And yeah, so since this is true, sampling without replacement is okay. Okay, so if you notice below, it says we don't know the value of p, and actually that's the point of creating a confidence interval, is to estimate the true population proportion. So when we calculate this standard deviation, we have no choice but to use statistics to estimate that standard deviation, so we're going to use our p hat value instead. So to calculate the standard deviation for this particular example, we'll use sigma sub p hat equals 0.42 p hat times 1 minus p hat, which is 0.58, divided by 50, and our standard deviation is 0.0698. Since we are using statistics to estimate our standard deviation, sometimes we use this notation and we call this the standard error of p hat, since we're using all statistics, no parameters at all. So this is actually called the standard error of p hat. And that standard error sub p hat is the exact same formula except for we have no information about the population at all. Everything we're doing is based off of sample data. Okay, let's move to number 7. It says, would it be appropriate to use a normal distribution to model the sampling distribution of p hat? Justify. Boom, right here is our third condition that you need in order to use a confidence interval, which you know before, and that's our law of large counts. For proportions, to check normality, before we use that as condition number B, you have to check that law of large counts, which is n times p is greater than or equal to 10, and n times 1 minus p is greater than or equal to 10. But again, we run into the same problem that we had above. We are doing this confidence interval to find out the true proportion. We don't know what it is. So what are we going to do? We're going to use sample data again. So it's going to be n times p hat and n times 1 minus p hat. Let's go ahead and check those conditions. N is going to be 50 times 0.42. That is greater than or equal to 10 because it's equal to 21. And 50 times 0.58 is 29, which is also greater than or equal to 10. So the law of large counts condition has been met. So we can proceed with creating the confidence interval using normal approximation, since we can assume that this distribution is approximately normal. All right, let's turn the page. When we were learning about confidence intervals in class, you guys all had a sample of 5 test scores, and I told you to just pick a confidence level that, or a margin of error that you felt was appropriate for the estimation of where the true average test score lies. And you guys just kind of decided what felt good. Some of you guys said 19, some of you said 2.5. There were answers all over the place. Well, there's a standard way for us to calculate this margin of error, and we do that using critical values, okay? So let's go ahead and read this. In a normal distribution, 95% of the data lies within 2 standard deviations of the mean. We know that from our empirical rule that we learned in Unit 4. This value is called the critical value. Use table A or inverse norm to find the critical values below. So if I want to know that critical value for 80% of the data, I'm saying, all right, 80% of the data lies within these bounds, meaning 80% of the data is in the middle, 10% in each tail, and here are our critical values, a negative z-score and a positive z-score. We call these z-star values because they are critical to creating the confidence interval. They're just special z-scores. There's symmetry here, so this is the same value, 1 positive, 1 negative. In order to calculate these values, you can use inverse norm. Area to the left is 0.1. Standard deviation is 0 and 1, and you'll get a critical value down here of negative 1.282. We can do the same thing up here using inverse norm, 0.9, 0, and 1, and we will get a positive critical value of 1.282. So these values are very important, need I say critical, for us to calculate that confidence interval. It's kind of what anchors the interval down to the standard normal curve, and then we can put our values to it. Take a second and verify that you know how to calculate these bottom 4 critical values. They are values on the standard normal curve. If we're approximating that middle mean, we're looking for 80% confidence on either side. We're looking for 90% confidence. We can calculate these following critical values. And the critical values, I don't want to say they don't change because they kind of do, but these are pretty standard values depending on the type of distribution we have. Step 9 says calculate the margin of error for a 95% interval by multiplying the critical value and standard deviation. That's the formula for your margin of error. Your margin of error is your critical value. We're going to use that 1.96 because we want 95% confidence. And we just calculated our standard deviation on the other page, or our standard error, of 0.0698. And we're going to get 0.137. This is our margin of error. We're allowing 13.7% error on either side of our point estimate, and we're 95% confident that that interval is going to capture the true proportion. So let's actually find that confidence interval now. 0.42 plus or minus that 0.137 is going to be 0.283 and 0.557. So we are 95% confident the interval from, you can put this as a percentage or a decimal, that's fine, 28.3% and 55.7% captures the true proportion of kisses that land flat. Okay? A lot of this is stuff that we already know, but now we're just kind of putting it all together. We're gonna skip this part because we didn't get to do it together as a class. But we'll never actually know the truth, because can we get our hands on every single kiss in the world, flip them, and no, not necessarily. But it seems to be that the proportion is about 0.35 if you take many, 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 many samples. Let's turn the page to take some formal notes on this. Okay, before you calculate a confidence interval, every single time you need to check the conditions. We went through those conditions holistically before, but now we're going to list them out. Condition number 1, the sample needs to be random. Okay, if the sample is not random, we can assume it's random unless it is explicitly stated as not random. For instance, a voluntary response sample would not be random. If we aren't positive, but it seems like it might, it's safe to assume. Step 2, we check that normality. For proportions, in order for us to determine if the distribution is normal, we have to use the law of large counts, and we're going to have to use p hat for this particular distribution because we don't have any information about the population. Condition must be met. And step 3, in order for us to determine that samples are independent or that they aren't going to affect one another, we have to make sure that that 10% condition is met, where n is less than 10% of the population. And remember, a lot of times we're going to be assuming this condition as well. Make sure you plug in the context. Okay, critical values. How do you calculate those critical values? You use inverse norm, area to the left, 0 and 1. These are z-scores on the standard normal curve, okay? So in order to calculate those, we take whatever confidence level we have and we calculate those critical values, a positive and a negative z-star. You can use whichever one your heart desires. And let's look at the actual formula for calculating a confidence interval of proportions. On your AP Stats formula sheet, the general formula that's provided to you is this: point estimate plus or minus the margin of error. And it is up to you to know what goes in there. For a proportion, the point estimate is your p hat value plus or minus. The margin of error is your critical value, z star, times your standard deviation, which is p hat 1 minus p hat over n. Okay, so this is your critical value, and this is your standard error, or standard deviation of the sample, either way. Okay, Why don't you pause this video right now, take a second to really attempt this try, and when you're ready, unpause the video to check your answers. Okay, so let's read through this example. Sleep Awareness Week begins in the spring with the release of the National Sleep Foundation's annual poll of U.S. sleep habits and ends with the beginning of daylight savings time, when most people lose an hour of sleep. In the Foundation's random sample of 1,029 U.S. adults, 48% reported that they often or always got enough sleep during the last 7 nights. One thing that should be jumping out to you when you're reading this example, first of all, is that this is categorical data, because we're asking someone, hey, did you get enough sleep? And they're saying yes or no, which is a non-numeric answer. Another thing that should jump out to you is this 1,029, that's our N value, that's our sample size. Another thing that should jump out to you is this 48%. That is our statistic. That is 48% of the sample. So that's our p hat is equal to 0.48. Number 1 says identify the parameter of interest. This means in context, what is the parameter we're looking for? P is the parameter for a proportion, and that is the true proportion of adults who reported to have gotten enough sleep. Step 2 says to check the conditions. Condition number 1, is it random? That is stated. Condition number 2, is the distribution normal according to the normality check? Yes, it is. And condition number 3, is N less than 10% of the population? We're going to assume that 1,029 is less than 10% of all U.S. adults. That seems like a safe assumption. Number 3, the critical value for 98%. Let's find that. I want 98% confidence around the mean that I am estimating, and that means I'm going to have 1% out in the tails. So I can calculate that critical value using either the lower bound or the upper bound. Inverse norm, area to the left, is 0.01, which is 1%. Standard deviation is 0 and 1, since the Z star or the critical value is a value on the standard normal curve. And you should get either positive or negative 2.326. Negative if you use the lower bound, positive if you use the upper bound. It doesn't really matter because we're adding or subtracting either way. The formula for the confidence interval is your point estimate, 0.48, plus or minus the critical value for your confidence level, 2.326, times your standard error. And here's that standard error calculated right there to give you the following interval. How do we interpret that interval in context? We are 98% confident the interval from 44.385% to 51.631% captures the true proportion of people who answered that they have gotten enough sleep. All right, guys, that's it for today. Take time to attempt your homework the best you can, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.